We are living through a very strange time in history. The world seems to be destabilizing in so many ways at once. Growing wealth inequality, ideological polarization, and the rise of populism are eroding our democracies. The world order is shifting, and there are looming threats of another global conflict. We are approaching demographic collapse and climate catastrophe. Our society is suffering from epidemics of anxiety, depression, and addiction. And if that wasn't enough, now we are blindly racing towards the creation of godlike machines. It seems like the perfect storm. Perhaps this is just a coincidental convergence of crises, but what if there is a common cause to all this chaos? What if there is a single root of corruption? Not a defect in human nature or a broken system, but a delusion at the very center of our collective psychology. Consider this. Climate change is going to severely disrupt our agricultural systems, make large parts of the planet uninhabitable, and cause widespread chaos. We'll be living in a world devastated by floods, droughts, wildfires, ecosystem collapse, famines, mass migration, and war. And what are we doing about it? Well, we can't even agree that it's actually happening. Some people build their entire careers on denying this existential threat. Ask yourself, what would it take for you to be able to sleep at night if you spend your days as a champion of the apocalypse? Perhaps evil, or a deep-rooted hatred for humanity. But I believe that it is delusion. That it is delusion that justifies this ruthless greed. Money seems to be all that matters to us. Our culture is a cult of capital. All our lives we chase this golden calf, either just to stay alive or to escape our fear of insignificance, to make us feel worthy. But the thing is, we're playing a zero-sum game here. A game most of us will lose because capital aggregates, it concentrates, and it governs from the shadows. Inevitably, the poor will get poorer and the rich will get richer. And the rich keep striving for more and more because there's one thing that they will never have: enough. We assume greed is human nature, but you know what you can't find in nature? Manipulative advertising. Endless, scrolling streams of subversive entertainment. Our attention has been hijacked, our dissatisfaction weaponized. We are constantly reminded that what we own is what we're worth, that these roles we're forced to play is what defines us. But it's all meaningless. We work to consume, and then we consume to endure our work. There is no end to this pointless pursuit. No wonder we're all so anxious and depressed. No wonder we seek refuge in virtual worlds and states of intoxication. No wonder we stopped having kids. By the way, how are we not talking more about this? Our societies are slowly aging beyond the point of no return. By the middle of the century, the proportion of elderly in our society will have nearly doubled. Unless we assemble an army of robots or stop aging altogether somehow, the foundation of our economy will crack beneath the weight of the old. And the worse things get for us, the more divided we seem to become. Instead of unifying in our common struggle in this world, we're torn apart by fear and resentment. And that's no accident. Whether you're watching the 24-hour news cycle on TV or the never-ending stream of outrage on social media, whatever evokes anger and fear will always be pushed to the forefront because it captures our attention. And when we're riled up, opportunistic con artists take their chance at power. Because nothing fuels a campaign like anger and fear, because we project our desperation onto populists that promise to make things great again. And in our delusion, we willingly give up our freedoms and ignore the obvious red flags of fascism.
My heart goes out to you.
And we enable tyrants to silence dissent, consolidate control, and dismantle our democracies. And as nations turn inward, alliances break, borders harden, and armies swell. The strong prey upon the weak, and superpowers compete for domination. As the global order falls to pieces, we are slowly drifting towards a catastrophic war. During the last global conflict, nuclear weapons were the flagship of the global arms race. And while nuclear weapons still remain a very real threat today, there is a new technology of war that we are now blindly racing towards: artificial intelligence. We are so eager, either for national security or simply for profit, that we have no time to consider the real danger of creating these thinking machines. Creations that we do not even understand, and that one day soon will eclipse human intelligence. AI will automate our labor, reprogram our lives, and streamline our wars. Of course, we don't know if this technical revolution will bring salvation or the apocalypse. But one thing is clear: a hungry and frightened animal cannot be trusted with godlike powers. We are not ready for this. We have to unite, but we're fractured. We should act with reason and compassion, but we're driven by anger and greed. We need wise leaders, but what do we have? Con men, sycophants, and cowards. This time calls for courage, but we feel powerless, and so we retreat into apathy and distraction. But why? We have the technical capabilities to change the world, and we know that this change is critically necessary. Why are we moving in the wrong direction at every turn? Because we're delusional. We're sleepwalking towards the apocalypse. We are trapped in a fever dream that we mistake for reality. This delusion, let's call it humanity's original sin. This delusion is the specter of the separate self, ego. Now, the word ego gets thrown around a lot, so let me try to define it first. This is difficult to do because ego is a central phenomenon of how we relate to the world. By ego, I don't just mean self-obsession or a sense of grandiosity. I'm speaking of the very act of self-conceptualization. See, ego is not an entity. It's not an integral part of us. Ego is an activity of the mind. It's the fracturing of experience into I and other. It's the process of evaluating all things in relation to a fabricated identity, a set of assigned characteristics, beliefs, and affiliations. It's a mask we wear to give this fluctuating, unfolding reality of self a false sense of permanence. Ego creates a narrative that tries to neatly package our chaotic lives, a narrative that, above all, aims to be validated, to be preserved. The need to preserve this narrative is what overrides our natural inclination towards truth and compassion. And instead, we are driven by a compulsion to transform every aspect of our lives to match this ego narrative. We usually think of ego as stories of power, status, and utopia. These are the stories that drive megalomaniacal tyrants, celebrities driven mad by their hunger for validation, and billionaires chasing dreams of immortality. And our system selects for this pathology. It rewards it because egoic obsession overrides morality and scruple. It tunnels our vision. It blinds us to the whole. Narcissists and psychopaths rise to power precisely because of this obsession, because they are willing to sacrifice everything for their egoic narrative. And once they're in power, their ego then justifies their position, their obscene wages, and their unchecked authority. Ego tells them that they're special, that they deserve more, that only they can lead us. And since ego is what leads them, reason and compassion are sidelined because, more than anything, ego seeks to secure dominance and destroy all opposition. So welfare becomes waste, ethical guardrails become obstacles, truth is twisted, consent manufactured, history rewritten, and wars are unleashed for the sake of egoic legacy. Ego is always hungry for validation, for possession, for status, for control. This conditioned appetite is exactly what drives our transactional culture. It's what fuels our worship of celebrity. It's what sustains the machinery of consumerism. And then there's social media, the temple of ego, where we build a shrine from the distorted fragments of our lives. In the digital halls, curated by our algorithms, ego feels right at home because the algorithm mirrors its narrative. Whatever creates emotional resonance and keeps our eyes glued to the screen is what we get more of. That's how egoic narratives become fortresses that withstand even the most overwhelming evidence. That's how our public discourse has degenerated into a battlefield of ideologies where each side is deaf to the other. But ego narratives aren't always self-aggrandizing. Just as often, they frame us as victims and convince us that we're weak, worthless, and alone. Ego can paint our entire world as hostile. It can imprison us in self-limiting beliefs. These defeatist narratives are what keep us powerless and sedated. They're the breeding ground for anxiety and depression, and they help cement the power of tyrants. Even as the world falls apart around us, we continue to look the other way. And we keep scrolling and we keep shopping because our ego always finds a story to justify our apathy. Like the story that tells us, surely someone's coming to save us. Somehow, this is all going to work out in the end. Or the story that says, it's already too late and there's nothing we can do anyway. But it's just a story. It doesn't have to be this way. All we need to do is to let go. Let go of ideology, let go of blind ambition, let go of our need for control. And when we let go of ego, we regain clarity. And that clarity reveals that despite all our differences, we are never separate. Beneath the layers of egoic identification, we are one, as pure awareness, as localized fragments of the conscious universe witnessing itself. The more we embody this truth, the more we gravitate towards compassion and unity. And in turn, our gravity will guide others towards the same universal truth. Of course, the problems of our time require coordinated action through effective policy and the intelligent application of our most potent technologies. But for as long as we are ruled by ego, as long as we are sleepwalking through life, we will continue to grow further apart. We will continue to exploit one another, and ultimately, we will self-destruct. The good news is, we don't need a great awakening to start going in the right direction, because every step we take towards a less egoic culture brings us closer to unity and to a deeper form of cooperation. See, ego isn't a constant in our lives. It comes and it goes. Some are completely enthralled by ego, others are quite free of it. And transcending ego isn't a battle we must win. It's a process of remembering, again and again and again. And this remembering can be catalyzed. The same technologies that are now holding our attention hostage, that trap us in echo chambers, may also liberate us. If we continue to share this insight and cultivate a global community devoted to ego transcendence, we may still build a better world. But the great tragedy of our age is this: for the first time in history, we possess the tools to end poverty, heal our ecosystems, eradicate disease, unite humanity, and build a world of abundance. And yet, we remain incapable of coordinated, compassionate action because we are frenzied, reactive, and blind, because we are driven mad by the delusion of ego. And now that we stand on the brink of a technological revolution of unimaginable proportions, the dissolution of ego is no longer just a spiritual pursuit, but an existential necessity. This crisis will reveal the true extent of our humanity. It will summon both heroes and monsters. The question is, will we clutch tighter to the egoic mask, or find the courage to let go? Everything rests on that choice, and that choice is yours.